Triglycerides are by far the most abundant type of lipid in our body. About 95% of fatty acids in food and up to 99% in our body are incorporated into triglycerides. Their most important function is an energetic one. Triglycerides are very energy dense. 1 gram of lipids provides 9 kilocalories. You will remember that carbohydrates provide 4 kilocalories per gram, so lipids have more than double. Lipids are the main fuel for our muscles at rest and during light activity. In these conditions, about 70% of the energy expenditure is covered by fat. The rest comes from glucose, mainly to sustain the brain's activity. Carbs from glycogen are preferentially used as an energy source when we perform a more intense anaerobic activity because we cannot burn fat without oxygen. But as long as we have enough oxygen, fats are the main source of energy for our muscles. Our heart really likes fat and it always uses it as its primary energy source. Don't forget, however, that there are some organs that will not use fat for energy, and in particular our brain, our nervous system, and our red blood cells, which only work with glucose, and this is the reason why we always need some glucose, and why our blood glucose needs to always be maintained within a specific range. The energetic density of lipids is also a big advantage when it comes to storing energy, because they take a lot less space than carbs, and also because carbs require a lot of hydration water around them, while fats don't. For all these reasons, we can only store a little bit of carbs as glycogen, and then the rest all goes into lipid stores in our adipose tissue. Triglycerides are the main form of energy storage in our body. Remember, it's not just only the fat we eat that gets stored in our body as fat, but any excess energy. So any excess carbs and any excess proteins, which we don't need for anything else, will just be converted to fat and stored into our adipose tissue. When we have some extra sugar, the first thing we do is store it as glycogen. But there is only so much glycogen that we can store. We can have some in our cells, then a couple hundred extra grams in our liver to maintain blood glucose stable, but then because it takes a lot of space and coordinates a lot of water, we cannot indefinitely store glycogen. So anything that's left will be converted to fat and stored into our adipose tissue. And there is no limit to how much fat we can store, both as visceral fat around our internal organs, especially our abdominal area, and as subcutaneous fat under our skin. However, once we have made fat from carbs or proteins, there is no way back. Unfortunately, we cannot go back from the fat we stored into our adipose tissue and make, for example, glucose to keep our blood glucose level stable, or amino acids to do protein synthesis. That would be nice, but we lack the necessary enzymes. So once we make fat from carbs, we have to either use it as fat or keep it into our adipose tissue. So we have seen how the most important function of triglycerides is to provide and store energy. But that's not the only function. Triglycerides in our visceral adipose tissue also have a very important protective function as coating of the surface of our organs and nerves, especially those that are not protected by bones. For example, our kidneys are surrounded by a thick layer of perirenal fat that forms a protective cushion and prevents them from being injured. The very same function is performed by the subcutaneous layer of adipose tissue that's under our skin. It not only protects us when we fall, but it also insulates us, helping us keep our internal temperature stable as the external temperature changes. Then, there are other important functions that are performed by triglycerides in food. First of all, they are associated with and allow absorption of the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, as well as carotenoids, an important group of bioactive compounds from fruits and vegetables. Then, as we already know, they strongly contribute to satiety. And then finally, as we already discussed, they give a unique contribution to the texture, flavor, and technological properties of many foods, from baked goods to ice creams.